So today I would like to talk about the color wheel. The color wheel is really the tool in my studio that helped me taking my color mixing to the next level. So this is my own color wheel. This is a 18 hues color wheel. You can get it from my website if you don't have one. But before talking about this color wheel, I want to start from the beginning and really explain you and show you how I read the color wheel and how I use the color wheel. So basically this color wheel is based on three primary colors. This is the traditional color wheel. This color wheel is based on the traditional color wheel. So this color wheel is from 1800, but it's still very valuable today, even though there's other color theory that came out that are very nice as well. But today we're gonna look at this one. So here we have three primary colors, the red, the blue, and the yellow. These are called primary color because we cannot we cannot obtain this color by mixing other colors. We need the red, we need the blue, and we need the yellow. But when we have the three primary colors, we can mix all the colors on the color wheel or all the hues. So here, these are the three primary colors, and when we mix two primary colors, we're gonna obtain secondary colors. So here, when we mix red and yellow, we obtain orange, our first secondary color. When we mix yellow and blue, we obtain green, our second secondary color. When we mix blue and red, we obtain violet. Here we have a 6-hue color wheel. So we have three primary color and three secondary color. Now we can mix one primary color and a secondary color. This gonna give us a tertiary color. When we mix red and orange, when we mix our primary color with our secondary color, we find our tertiary color, red-orange. The same when we mix orange and yellow, we find orange-yellow. When we mix yellow and green, we find yellow-green, green and blue, blue-green, blue and violet, blue-violet, violet and red, red-violet. Here now we have a 12 hues color wheel. This is the color wheel I started with. This is a very, very good color wheel. In my opinion, is the best color wheel to start with if you have issue with color mixing. This is how I started, and this really, really helped me. So basically we're gonna stay a little bit on this color wheel, and I'm gonna show you in a little bit how we can take this color wheel a bit further for when we start to get used to and we want to take it to the next level. So first here, this color wheel with 12 hues, it's largely enough to start with. Here we have the 6 main hue on the color wheel, and here we have the 12 hues around. So now that we have this 12 hues color wheel, it's very important to understand that this is just theoretical. Everything we see here is a theory, and here we're gonna put it in practice. But it's very important to understand that this color wheel is different than what we have here. Here is an example of a paint color wheel that I made with my limited palette. The paint behaves different than this. So for example, when we mix blue and yellow here, we obtain green. But the color wheel doesn't tell you which blue and which yellow to mix to obtain that green. So this is not the way it works. We don't try to match this blue here or match this yellow to obtain that green. This is not how we use this color wheel. We can use this color wheel, for example, to identify hues. So hue, it's the color that we see here. It's a hue is basically a color family. So within one hue, we can have different colors. So here, if I want to paint this object, I take my color wheel and I go around and I go around until I think the hue match my subject. So here, oops, I think I have something. So here I can see that my hue, I'm gonna go on blue-green. So when I'm gonna start to mix my colors, I wanna go directly, I wanna go to a blue-green. This is how we can use the color wheel. I show you another example. I have another subject right here. I wanna identify the hue, so I turn the color wheel again. I turn the color wheel and I can identify here that it's gonna be a yellow, and it's probably gonna be a yellow that leans towards orange. That's when we're gonna start to see that we can go to the next color wheel to take the game to the next level. But this is already a very, very good starting point. So the color wheel can be used like that to identify hues on our subject that we are painting. And then it can also help us to mix our colors. But again, we don't try to match colors from the color wheel. The color wheel is just here as a helper. Here in the middle, this is the neutral zone. It's gray on purpose because in subtractive color theory, when we add the three primary colors, we usually get a neutral. So it can be black, it can be gray, it can be brownish. It will depend on the pigment we mix. This is very important to understand. This is just theoretical. So theoretically, when we mix the three primaries, we obtain black, or at least we obtain a gray or a big pile of mud, basically. So the other concept that we can get from the color wheel is that any color at the opposite of the color wheel complement each other. And this is very easy to understand because red, for example, the complement of red, we follow the line here and we have green. The complement on blue, when we follow the line, we see it's orange. This works with all the colors on the color wheel. And it's very easy to understand why red is the complement on green. If we think at just what I mentioned before, when we mix the three colors, we obtain a pile of brown or gray or black. Well, basically the same happens when we complement a color. When we have some red and we want to desaturate the red, for example, make it less saturated, we put the complement green. But when we put green, we basically put all the colors, all the primary colors, because we put red, that is a primary, and then we put green, that is a secondary color. But green is actually blue and yellow. So we can see that when we put green in the red, we actually mix our three primaries again. This is true for all the colors on the color wheel. When we take blue and we try to complement, we complement blue with orange, we actually mix one primaries with our other primaries because orange is red and yellow. And this is true for all the colors. So we see that basically when we complement a color, what we actually do, we just mix again our three primaries. That's why we get a gray, a brown, or a black, depending on the value and depending on the pigment we mix. So I hope this is useful. One more time, you can get all these color wheels on my website. Now we're gonna go to the last color wheel I want to show you today. When we mix our primary color with our secondary color, we obtain the tertiary color red, orange. But now, quickly, you will see when you go deep into that, you will quickly find that red orange is quickly limited, because what happens if you put more orange in that mix? If you put more orange in that mix, that red orange is gonna lean towards orange. So quickly you will see, and it's even more true if you start to make your own black is gonna lean towards blue or towards orange. So you have really this dual side of leaning either towards blue, either towards orange. So quickly you will see that it's very nice to have as well this dual leaning side on each tertiary color. So each tertiary color can lean either towards red, either towards orange, either towards orange here, either towards yellow here, either towards green, and so on. So once you understand that, we basically go through the last color wheel, and we arrive from the 12 hues color wheel, we arrive to the 18 hues color wheel. This is, in my opinion, the best wheel to have in the studio. It's really an easy wheel to read. Of course, when you start, in my recommendation is to start with the 12 to get really used to the 12 hues, and then going to the 18, and then it's really extremely nice to work with that color wheel. We have all the hues, we have 18 hues to work with. This is largely enough. And then we can compose basically our palette from that color wheel and choose our color depending the gamut we want to reach. I'm gonna talk about all this in future videos. This was an introduction to the color wheel. This was an introduction to how to use the color wheel. So yeah, I think this 18 hues color wheel is really the best wheel to start with. Once we understand correctly the principle of colors. So once we get really used to that, the red, the complement is green, the blue, the complement is orange. This seems basic, but when you don't know it, it's very important to learn it. Once we understand that, we can go to this and make a color wheel with our own paint to see what we can achieve with our palette that we choose. And also as well, we have other exercises that we can do. This is a color chart that we can make. So I'm gonna come back probably to these exercises in future videos. But these are all exercises basically that help us going from what we learn in theory on the color wheel to put it in practice on the palette, because in the end of the day, the color wheel doesn't make our painting. What makes our painting is our paint and how we mix our paint on our palette. So this is again another step, and well, yeah, I'm gonna develop that in future videos. I hope this was useful. Don't forget, you can get the color wheel on my website. The link is in the description box below, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video.